Hello, it's Lord Slaw here, coming at you today with another video, and today's video is on Tom Baker, the Fourth Doctor, and his respective top 5 episodes. So a lot of people really like Tom Baker. I mean, like, really, really like him. And, I like him too. He definitely has his moments, but I don't like him as much as everybody else. I mean, he's definitely still in my top half of Doctors, but like everybody seems to think, oh yes, number one. I mean, maybe not so much these days, but certainly like a few years ago, everybody was obsessed with Tom Baker. Now it's went on to David Tennant, and well, he's a lot less deserving of it than Tom Baker because Tom Baker does do an excellent job of presenting to us an alien. So he's completely different from us. Somebody who we can't really comprehend what he's talking about, but he's also really funny, and but he can also be really mysterious and dark, and it works really well. It's like one of the most perfect combinations to be, the Doctor and kind of set a standard, which, while I personally prefer other Doctors, I don't think anybody's quite reached his standard of, how to present him, at least in a clever and balanced way. But anyway, let's move on to his top 5 episodes. So at number 5 we have The Talons of Wang Qiang, a Robert Holmes masterpiece. If you don't know who he is, he's basically the best Doctor Who writer. He wrote like a good chunk of what is considered some of the best Doctor Who stories, at least the best examples of what Doctor Who is about. And this is an excellent episode. It's got a nice Victorian setting. It's got some great characters, really memorable, like Mr. Henry Gordon Jago and Professor Lightfoot. They've even got their own Big Finish mini-series and have appeared in a few other just Big Finish stories, like even in the Sixth Doctor Last Adventure. They're really fun characters to play around with, and there's a lot of funny moments in this as well. But it's also quite dark and serious with Wang Chang. He's a really good villain. He's quite menacing, quite maniacal. I like the kind of whole Chinese thing going on. It's rather interesting. It works well. It's a really good episode, and I actually find the rats scary. A lot of people say the rats aren't scary. Well, to be more correct, I did find the rats scary. I can remember being terrified of them as a little kid. Now I can obviously see their fakeness, but it is definitely effective in scaring small children, those rats. I just thought I'd talk about the rats because I did have nightmares about them, and why not? I was 8 at the time or something, so it's acceptable. That's why it's at number 5, because it's a bloody great story, written well, good characters, a Robert Holmes masterpiece. So at number 4 we have The Pyramids of Mars. What a great story. I mean, just what an amazing story. It's just done so well. It gets the gothic horror kind of mood perfectly. And it's basically, when you think of Hinchcliffe, you think of this episode because it's just so good. Just so good. Now, you know how I said I liked Wang Chiang? Imagine him times a million. Then you've got Sutek. The actor is amazing. He does this really good kind of menacing voice, which isn't like a stereotypical menacing voice. It's different, but it's still like kind of, he's out to get you kind of thing. They even brought him back for the Impossible Planet / the Satan Pit, which is in itself an absolutely outstanding episode. And well, it's not just Sutek here. Obviously, you've got all the mummies going around crushing people. It's quite a dark story, to be perfectly honest, and a lot of characters that you grow to quite like die, which Doctor Who seems quite scared to do these days, but it did it all the time back in the classic series, and that's what I like to see. There's some genuine threat here. It's written really well. It's got an absolutely amazing villain, and that's why it is in at number 4. At number 3 we have The Seeds of Doom. I'm quite a fan of this story. It's a pretty good one, and takes a lot of its inspiration from the 50s Thing, and considering the 1982 version of the Thing is my favourite film of all time, I'm naturally going to feel, quite positive about this episode to begin with, and on top of it, it's really, really good. It's got a lot of memorable characters like Harrison Chase, the Minister, and Scorby, who's a really memorable henchman, one of the most memorable in Doctor Who. He's quite well written. It's got a good enemy in the form of the Krynoids, which, while I said it takes some cues from the Thing, it's quite a lot different. And the Krynoids have quite a, kind of interesting life cycle, how they grow to like huge heights, how they control all the plants. It's an interesting enemy, and it's great to see Tom Baker's variety in this episode, because at the beginning you see him just being mad and insane, and like the minister's like, that person from Units, is he quite sane? And that's really funny. But then later on in the story, when like the Krynoid, it feels that it might take over the Earth, might destroy the Earth, and he gets really serious and he acts it really well. One of Tom Baker's best performances apart from the Genesis of the Daleks, obviously, which you may see later on this list, you may not. But yeah, it's a really bloody good episode. I love the Seeds of Doom, and that's why it's in at number 3. So at number 2, we have the horror of Fang Rock. And horror is right. What a way to start the Graham Williams era. And while the Graham Williams era really isn't the best, in fact, it gets pretty bad, and this is the best episode of it. But oh well, it really feels like a Hinchcliffe episode. I'm not sure if it was still produced by Hinchcliffe, because I know some producers went into a new season of. I'm not sure. But the point is, it's really, really well done. It's written by Terrence Dicks, which is a rare treat, as he writes a few stories in Doctor Who, but not all that many, considering what an impact he's had on the show. And yeah, it's really good. The Rootons are great, and the lighthouse setting is creepy. It's atmospheric. It's really well shot. It's got a good atmosphere, and it's just a really enjoyable watch. And it's got that kind of classic Fourth Doctor, nobody survives kind of thing going for it, because Doctor Who, as I said earlier, needs death. It makes the threat just much more legitimate, and there's plenty of other things. It's got good memorable characters, it's got a great enemy, it's got great concept, great atmosphere, and that's why it comes in at number 2. So now for a couple of honourable mentions. One is the Ark in Space with the Wirren. This is an excellent story. It's one of the first classic Who stories I've ever seen, I seem to remember. And yeah, it's really good. It's kind of got a similar thing to the Seeds of Doom, I suppose, but completely different setting and different villain. But it's really enjoyable. That too has memorable characters. That too has a lot of kind of, a great villain. It works well. It's interesting and it keeps your attention. And it's just really good story in general. Another honourable mention is one which came so close to coming off on the list, but didn't quite make it on. It's The Hand of Fear. Now, there's a lot of people who say, oh, it's okay, but I really like this story. I really like Eldrad, like how long, like, they've been buried there. Just everything about the story just kind of clicks with me in a way I don't really know why, but it does. It clicks with me, and I really enjoy it, like, really thoroughly enjoy it, and it's a great story. And it's a great way for Sarah Jane Smith to depart, because, she was one of the most long-running companions and one of the most loved, so good job she had a nice episode to go out on. And the last honourable mention is Planet of Evil. I like this story. Not everybody does. It's enjoyable for what it is. I like the kind of, the concept plays around with. Again, it has some more interesting characters, and it works well as a story. I just thought I'd throw it on here because I rather enjoy it. I don't honestly think I would have put it on the list under any circumstances, but I enjoy it, and I thought I'd just say, mention a word about it. And so now we shall move on to number 1. So at number 1 we have very, very, very predictable, I know, Genesis of the Daleks. Now everybody's gonna go, it's overrated, you're just doing it because everybody else says it's good, shut up, go away, and die. Well, I like it. Genesis of the Daleks is actually a good episode. It deserves its reputation. It's not like Day of the Doctor, where it's just stupidly overhyped when it's actually incredibly flawed. Well, of course Genesis has flaws. Everything has flaws. It's really good and has so many great scenes. It's written amazingly. Tom Baker puts an amazing performance in, especially for his first season. It's hard to deny the amazingness of Genesis. And why bother? Why bother? I know people may hold it in really high regard, but it deserves it. It really deserves it. Maybe not number 1 for me personally, and to be honest, I think Case Van Drazani deserves to be number 1, even though that isn't number 1 for me personally. But still, I think it deserves the accolade it receives, and I think you should respect that too, even if you disagree, because, it's so good. But feel free to not think it's as good as that. But, oh well, let's talk about why it's good, because I've just kind of, fanboyed over it. So for one, Davros is such an excellent addition. Michael Wisher plays him perfectly. The scenes where it's just the Doctor and Davros are so good. I also like other characters like Naide and, what's his name? It begins with an R. He's like the scientist guy. He's pretty good as well. It's a nice way to give the Daleks an origin story, even if they're a bit underutilized. It's good to see the Falls, even though they're quite nice in, the Daleks and also Planet of the Daleks, but to see that they did actually have kind of a bloodthirsty background, and, nobody's perfect. There's no, just black and white, good and evil. And it's always good to point that out in Doctor Who, because sometimes I feel like, especially in New Who, it's just like bad, good, yeah. Maybe I'm being a bit harsh there, but oh well. Genesis of the Daleks, it's an absolutely amazing story. Got great characters. It's written magnificently. Got some great scenes. Outstanding performance by Tom Baker and Michael Wisher, and that is why it comes in at number 1 on my list of top 5 Tom Baker episodes. I shall see you next time for another video.